Hey, we're back for review day number 2, and we're going to be focusing on adding integers. Now, if you go back in time with me when we talked about adding and subtracting integers and all those sorts of things, there's a few different methods that we approached in order to do this. We had a number line, and we also would just use counters. It'd be like pencils and markers and stuff like that. We had a submarine. We talked about insults, or we used hearts. And then last but not least, we just talked about money. So I'm going to try and review adding integers and these concepts right here so that you can kind of go, okay, yep, I get it. Because 100% honesty time, if you're looking at this question right here, -4 plus 7, and you're not 1,000% sure that the answer is 3, then you have to really tell yourself, I better pay attention to what's going on in this video and maybe even talk to the teacher and say, I could use some help, okay? So you had to be super duper sure that that was 3. And if you're not, then let's talk about that real quick. So first things first, going way old school with you, to add means to move right on the number line. So if you're like, what? Okay, well, this little visual example, it's here, but it's also here, right? -4 plus 7. This is, sorry, I keep kind of moving around. This is where you start. Just like any sentence, any story, the first part of the sentence gives you the context for what you've got. So we're starting at -4. And then this thing tells us where to move, okay? And we're going to move to the right. We're going to go that direction. How much? We're going to go that direction this much. So we're going to start. This is going to move us. And then this is how far, basically, okay? And if you're like, yeah, dude, I know all this, cool, then you can relax. In fact, if you want to do these 6 problems, pause the video, do them, and then fast forward to when I give the answers, go for it. But if you're like, oh, gosh, those kind of scare me, well, then pay attention. Okay, so we're going to move to the right 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we land at 3. Oh my goodness, that's what I said it was, right? Right. So that is officially, we just used the number line. And if you're like, but what about counters? Okay, well, we can use counters. Since it said we had -4, so the idea was that you have a negative, 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 negative. If you have those negatives, and then all of a sudden someone places down a positive, a positive, a positive. I'm going to have to draw 7 of these, so just wait a sec. Then what happens is we can now, just like kind of checkers, stack them on top of each other. If we pick up this 1 and put it on top of this -1, it's like they cancel each other out, right? If you have $1 and you subtract $1, then you have $0, right? So that's what just happened right here, right? Okay. In fact, let me go back to blue. I'll make them blue again. Blue. So then let's continue to stack. This one cancels this one. This one cancels this one. This one cancels this one. And we would have 1, 2, 3 left. So we could say -4 plus +7 is going to be equal to, almost wrote -3, is 3. Okay, so boom, we have talked about number line, we've talked about counters. Let's do a submarine. So a submarine is kind of a vertical line, and here is 0. This is the water line, okay? So in our story, the submarine starts at -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's -4, -3, -2, -1. And I got to get in here and draw a decent submarine already. So there's a submarine. We got the periscope. We got some windows on the sub. We got like the main cockpit area to where we can see a guy driving the submarine. Great. In here, a little part like that. All right. If all of a sudden it says +7, then what that means is we are going to rise 7 feet or 7 levels. So we would go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you're not sure how many that would be, well, we just continue counting. This would be 1, 2, 3. And if you're like, yeah, dude, I knew all that because clearly we already did -4 plus 7 is 3. But even still, that's the concept, okay? And if it helps to try and visualize something, when you're first starting out, you visualize. So this was a scenario. Let me take it a little bit deeper because we did some other stuff with this when we first started out. If we said we're at -4, it's because we had 1, 2, 3, 4 anchors. Anchors, as we know, pull down, okay? And then if all of a sudden we wanted to add, if we were going to go up with it, right? Then what we ended up doing is it's like we added what we called floats. So here is a balloon. A balloon would cause us to float, okay? So they're going to add 7 balloons on this thing. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see, there's 7. And so what would happen is that obviously the amount of balloons is bigger than the amount of anchors, so this thing is going to float up. It's going to float, right? And then the overall outcome is that we are 3 above the water, right? We have this amazing floating submarine. So boom, we have talked about submarines. Now, the last two, I think this one right here was the favorite of the students, the favorite of the class, because it was kind of funny and it definitely made sense. So if you are feeling, you showed up to school and you're feeling -4, you're feeling sad. But then if someone comes along and they give you 7 compliments, well, I mean, immediately we kind of have this understanding that we are going to be feeling positive. Our outcome is that we will be feeling great, right? So we can kind of look at it this way. In fact, here, let me do this. Let me grab the smiley face. If I can grab the smiley face, here we go. We'll grab it, and there, we made a duplicate. Let's make some more duplicates, and another duplicate. All right, we have 4 negative feelings, right? And now let's give 7 compliments. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what? I probably should have just drawn them all out. But guess what? This thing right here is the exact same thing as this. The difference is, I think most of us, we just saw this and we were like, oh, well, clearly, if I'm feeling bad 4 and you give me 7 compliments, I'm going to be feeling good. And how good exactly? Well, again, these would kind of cancel each other out. I shouldn't even say kind of. They definitely cancel each other out. And now I'm feeling +3. Like I said, I think this was the favorite right here. I don't know. But anyway, and then the last was just money. Money is, pretty universal that we know that things cost stuff. So if you open up your app on your phone, on your Venmo, I don't know if this is how Venmo works, and you notice, by the way, this is an app on a phone, in case you weren't sure, and you see that it says, oh, dang, you actually owe Venmo $4 because you have been, sending out too much money. Well, here's what you need to do. You got to get out somehow you got to go to the bank and you've got to add some money. Well, what if you added $7? Well, then the outcome would be that now you have a positive $3, right? Because you had to go from -4 all the way up to 0 where you owed them no money. And then the fact that you gave them $7 meant you went 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. 1, 2, 3, right? And how far did we just bounce? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, that was a number line, right? Where'd my number line go? Did I lose it? Did I not draw a number line? Oh, we did a number line here. You get the concept, right? And those were the 4 things that we tried to do to say, hey, listen, we can figure this out. Technically, you could call it 5, but whatever. So now, looking at this, I hoped that you didn't have too much trouble with number 28, simply because it's 5 plus 3, right? 29 is -1 plus 3. Well, if you started here and you went 1, 2, 3, you're at 2, right? You'd be right there. I'm not going to use the number line over and over because this one we just had it. This one we did the number line. Let's insult each other right here. You're feeling -9. You woke up, your hair was looking funky, and everyone was making fun of you. And then someone gave you 4 compliments. Mom did. It's not quite enough. You're still feeling negative by about 5. Now, 31. I'm going to brag on a student in my class. I believe it was Brooks. Brooks looked at this and he said, hey, listen, our answer is going to be negative. So what he did is he said, why don't we do this? Instead of trying to do -22 plus 12, he said, what if we just did 22 minus 12? So then these 2's give you 0. 2 minus 1 is that. And so, but notice how this is positive. But he said, hey, I know my answer is going to be negative. So the answer is -10. And if you're like, how did he do that? I think he looked at it and said, hey, I know that if I'm feeling -22, if I've lost $22, you can't give me less than 22 and I feel positive. So the answer had to have been negative. So this is a freedom move. Freedom. You have the freedom to decide. Okay? 11, -11 plus 5. Let's see. You are 11 underwater. You're going to go up 5. That's not enough to give you above the water. You are at -6. And last but not least, you are 3 below the water. You have given away $3. Sorry, I shouldn't mix them. You're down 3 underwater. You go 18 feet up. Dude, you are definitely out of the water. You are out of the water by that much. So if you're thinking, oh, wow, we spent 12 and a half minutes talking about this, you're right. We spent a lot longer on it on first semester, but I'm hoping that we knocked some of the dust off your brain. And again, if you're looking at these going, ooh, I did not get those, I am having troubles with those, we need to talk. I'd love to help you. Let me know what you got. See ya.